Bitcoin is falling right now, along with the rest of the cryptocurrency market, and BlackRock just did something really big. This allows them to get a lot more control over the world, even compared to what they have now, and it's not some conspiracy theory. This is actually happening. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing either for crypto. It could actually be super bullish long term. But let's go through what's happening right now. I'll give you a couple different reasons why Bitcoin's falling right now. And we'll also be going through some positives because there are positives right now. It's not just all negative, even with Bitcoin falling back down into this channel. So if you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this. You can also check out my Telegram. Sometimes I post videos just like this early there, or exclusive videos. Also check out BYDFi. You can start trading in just a few minutes. Every single day we're adding more money to this prize pool. At the end of this 30-day period, we're going to be giving this prize pool away to different traders that trade through my link. So check it out underneath. Now is a great time to be trading. We've been able to make life-changing amounts of money this cycle, even with this recent dip. We've been able to make life-changing amounts of money. And I've explained how in some of my longer form videos on trading. The key is to use low leverage swing trades over time. And then you can also get a little bit more aggressive when we are at key psychological points or key flipping points when we're flipping resistance into support. So check this link out underneath the video. As we can see, Bitcoin's falling. It's under 115,000. We're going up yesterday. We were up to 118,000, almost 119,000, and now we took a $3,000 move down. You look at altcoins, they're down significantly too. Ethereum back at 4,250. You can look across the board, and almost everything's down 5 to 10%. Now, what's happening? We'll get you with the negatives first, right? First of all, we're seeing liquidations, right? Across the board, we've seen about $497 million worth of longs liquidated in the last 24 hours. Most of this being Ethereum, but also Bitcoin coming in with a lot of liquidations and some smaller altcoins too. Only $81 million of shorts. So this, like, if you just showed me this box, I could tell you that Bitcoin would be down a few $1,000s, right? This is pretty consistent. Now, why is this happening? Well, most likely due to two different things, right? This doesn't just happen for no reason. Usually there's some psychological thing that happens that causes whales to want to manipulate and push up in the price. So last week we saw PPI come in higher than expected. It did re-rate the expectations of the Fed rate cut next month. So instead of 100% chance of likelihood, 100% likelihood that we're going to see a rate cut, now there's like 90%. And there was also a chance that we're going to see a 50 basis point cut. Now there's basically no chance of that, according to analysts. This gets repriced all the time. Remember just, what was it? Was it last week? 2 weeks ago when we fell down to 112,000? This was when we got some bad economic data and people thought that there was like no chance that we were going to see a rate cut. And then we saw the opposite, where we saw 100% chance that we're going to see a rate cut. Now we're right back in this descending channel. So that PPI came out. We saw a dump because of that from all-time highs, and then a little chopping around. And then most likely we saw some more manipulation from exchanges, from whales, from market makers to push us down again and liquidate more long positions. Now, though, let's get to the positives. First of all, a lot of long leverage has been wiped out. That doesn't sound like a positive, right? It doesn't sound like a positive at all, but it resets the table a little bit. You look over the 1 day. There are more shorts that would get liquidated if we moved up than longs that would get liquidated if we moved down. Look at the 7 day. A lot more, especially if we went up to like 120,000 on the 7 day. $7 billion worth of shorts would get liquidated. We go to the 30 days, still more shorts that will get liquidated, although we'd have to go up further. So it's more of a tail, but there's more, let's say, $10,000 away than there is $10,000 to the short side, or, more shorts will get liquidated than longs. Now, this flipped just from yesterday. Right? I think it was yesterday or the day before I was looking at this and I showed it was geared a lot more towards liquidating the long positions. So the board is kind of reset, right? A lot of the aggressive longs have been liquidated. We're back in the channel. RSI has come down. So a few days ago when we were pushing to all-time highs, RSI was at 62, and a lot of altcoins were even higher than that. Now we're at 44, so we're actually closer to oversold than overbought right now on the daily. Look at Ethereum, right? We were at 80 on RSI, which I said, hey, we're getting to the point where we could top out because we're approaching all-time highs. We could get rejected. We're already overheated. And what do you know? We are back down at 58 now. So this, I think, is pretty healthy to see some kind of chop back down after a big move up. I mean, Ethereum's 3x'd in the last 4 months. Bitcoin also has been going up a lot. It's up like 90-something% in the last year. So we made a big move back from June. We went from 98,000 all the way up to 123. It's not surprising that we chop around here for a little while. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So those are the 3 reasons why we're falling down right now. Now, what are the positives, right? First of all, like I said, RSI has come down. We've seen some chop, some liquidation get pushed out of the market, which I'm not saying, again, that's necessarily a good thing, but that's one reason why, like last week, I took profits on my aggressive long position even before we were at these new all-time highs. Like I could have made a lot more if I just held, but I switched my long position that I had opened right down here. It was a 60x long position. I closed it and opened a 3x, and we're still up on that position because we doubled our money from 113 to 119, and then opened up a new position with 3x. So we're actually down a lot less than we would be otherwise. We're actually up still from the original position. Now, we're still seeing companies acquire Bitcoin. Strategy acquired 430 Bitcoin for 51 million. People are going to say, well, that's a lot less than that's a lot less than they used to buy, which it is, but they're also not diluting shareholders, right? They're just selling Strike, Strife, Stride, and Strick or whatever it is. Metaplanet bought 775 Bitcoin for 93 million. Wells Fargo increased their Bitcoin exposure to from 26 million to 160 million in Q2. So banks are starting to buy Bitcoin, but it takes a while, right? They're not going out and buying billions day one. No, they're slowly increasing exposure, although you can see a pretty large increase percentage-wise, right? We're talking like 500, 600% increase from this quarter, from the last quarter to this quarter. Although it's still just 140 million or so when you consider how much all these treasury companies are buying and how small they are compared to the big banks, you can see that these banks still have a lot further to go. Publicly traded Bitmine Immersion just bought another 373,000 Ethereum worth 1.62 billion. That's incredible. They're the biggest Ethereum company right now. I don't even know how much they hold anymore. 5-6 billion, I think, off the top of my head. But that could be off. I might be one buy behind, but they've been able to acquire this so quickly. Probably quicker than, I think this is quicker than any other company has ever acquired a cryptocurrency asset. Right from the get-go, they're buying very quickly compared to MicroStrategy, which took years to buy billions of dollars and tens of billions of dollars. They started a lot slower. Ethereum Leverage short positions are hitting a record high. So this is interesting. We started to see short positions actually go down a little bit over the last couple weeks, but now it's going back up. Now, some people would say, how is this possible, right? Ethereum was just hitting all-time highs. Keep in mind, this is CME short positions. So this is very different than what you see over here, like the shorts being liquidated. This is oftentimes held by institutions, hedge funds, and it's more of a hedge. So maybe they hold Ethereum, but then they also short Ethereum, or they mine, they mine Bitcoin and then they short Bitcoin or something like that to kind of equal out and to hedge their positions. So these aren't as aggressive as these positions, right? Like when you see shorts get liquidated on a 5% move, that means that they're probably like a 20x short position, right? This is maybe they're shorting it 1-to-1, or maybe they're shorting it 3x or something like that. But these still can get liquidated. They can still be forced out of the market, or they take profits if they've come down a little bit. But as the price of Ethereum goes up, you'll probably see shorts increase because people are either hedging their positions where they are long Ethereum and shorting somehow, or people just think that Ethereum's overvalued. But this can add more fuel to the fire if we see aggressive moves to the upside. maybe people just cut their losses and don't want to short if they've lost enough money. Okay, BlackRock. BlackRock, obviously the largest financial institution in the world. Now BlackRock's CEO, Larry Fink, is appointed as the interim co-chair of the World Economic Forum. So what does this mean? Well, he is one of the two most powerful people in the World Economic Forum right now. So there are two co-chairs, and this isn't some kind of institution that makes laws or necessarily forces change. However, they gather the smartest people in the world. Maybe not the smartest people, I shouldn't say that. The most well-connected, wealthiest people in the world, world governments, banks, financial institutions, and puts them in one place. This is where Davos happens. Some people have been saying that Davos has kind of been fading out over the years, but still, it's a collection of some of the most powerful people in the world. And they, have discussions, try to kind of set the standard for what they want to see moving forward. And now Larry Fink is running it. The World Economic Forum is one of the most powerful institutions that's not a bank or a financial institution in the world. So I asked ChatGPT how powerful this institution is, and they said basically nation states are the most powerful, the US, China, etc., the EU. They can make laws right away, enact change right away. Then there's the IMF, the WTO, the BIS, regulators. Then financial institutions like BlackRock and Fidelity. And then right underneath that are like the agenda shapers, the soft powers, the think tanks, right? Which is the WEF, and the World Economic Forum is the most powerful of those institutions. So now you have the biggest financial institution in the world controlling the largest think tank in the world, right? Which is just kind of fascinating to think about. Keep in mind, BlackRock has been a pioneer of crypto, right? It's brought in billions, tens of billions of dollars into Bitcoin, the fastest inflows we've ever seen into Bitcoin. Don't you think they're probably going to shape nations and banks and governments to think about Bitcoin a little bit differently? They've had people come in and speak to their ultra high net worth individuals, their clients, saying that they should have up to 30% allocations to Bitcoin. The quant that they had that came in to a private group said that they should have up to 30%. It wouldn't be unreasonable based on mathematics to put 30% into Bitcoin. Some of their analysts have said, based on the math, you should have over 100%. You should leverage to get your hands on more Bitcoin just based on previous results. And then they have suggested that it's a good asset to hold on to as well. Like Larry Fink has said that. So it's quite fascinating to see this happen. And I think this is probably good for Bitcoin adoption, right? Of course, I want to hear your thoughts on this underneath the video. Again, if you do want to trade crypto, check out the link underneath the video to BYDeFi. Now's a really good time to start because we're seeing a pullback. So you can sign up, get access to this trading platform when we're seeing a pullback. So that means naturally your risk is lower. And we're getting closer and closer to support levels that we've seen in the past, such as 112,000. We're also in this channel where if we bottom out, it's right around 112,350. We're right at the midpoint too. So don't be surprised if we see a bit of a bounce. I'm not worried right now. Honestly, we set a higher high recently. We also set a higher low because before this big move up to 123, we were at 98,000. Then we set a low at 112,000. If we bounce here off 114,000, that's another higher low. So I'm still excited as long as we see a rate cut in September, and as long as we continue to see some decent amount of inflows and treasury companies continue to buy, I think the price will continue moving higher. There's going to be chop though, right? So make sure you're comfortable with chop. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.